Alright guys, it is that time of the week again and we are back to dive into our Championship weekly score predictions. We've got some massive games coming up this weekend and as always I want to get your takes on them in the comments down below. Do make sure to get involved in the conversation, but without any further ado, let's jump in. Starting out with the Friday night fixture, it's Hull going up against Bristol City. Now I must admit, really like the look of Hull in their last couple of matches. The way they've bounced back from that opening day defeat, brilliant performance against Sheffield Wednesday and followed it up with a good late show at Blackburn Rovers. And to be honest, I think that Liam Rossini's side will probably fancy their chances. Going up against this Bristol City side, it's probably a decent time of the season to be playing them. They've not quite found their feet in these opening few matches of this season, and in the attacking third, really not firing on all cylinders right now. We had a bit of a deeper dive into Bristol City on the Championship roundup earlier in the week, and I mean they've only had 3 shots on target across their first 3 opening matches. That's definitely something that they're going to need to rectify, and I do think there will be a point where Bristol City explode into life this season. I'm just not sure it's this game against a well-drilled Hull side who have been showing more attacking quality over these last couple of weeks. I think Hull get the home victory in this one. Score prediction there, I'm going to go 2-0 Hull, back them for another 3 points. After that, to St Andrews, to Birmingham up against Plymouth. 2 sides who I have liked the look of so far this season. Birmingham, who are unbeaten in their first 3, great win for them last time out at Bristol City to make it back-to-back wins, going up against the Plymouth side who ran Southampton very close but just lost out late on. Think that Plymouth will get a goal in this game. Really like the look of their forward 3 so far this season. Plenty of pace and counter-attacking ability there, where I can see them causing this Birmingham side some problems. But on the flip side of that, Blues have been really well regimented so far. Like the midfield dynamic they've got going on at the moment between Ivan Sunjic, who's looked rejuvenised so far in that Birmingham midfield, next to Christian Bielik. Score prediction here, I wouldn't be surprised at a draw, but I'm just going to edge Blues with the home advantage, I think. Score prediction, going to go 2-1 Birmingham and for them to just sneak it. Next then to Cardiff up against Sheffield Wednesday. Both sides could really do with a win in this one. Neither side yet to pick up a win this season. Sheffield Wednesday, the only side yet to pick up a point. Based off both sides' performances so far this season, I think Cardiff rightly will be coming into this one as the favourites. I actually thought they were a little bit unlucky in that game against Leicester not to pick up at least a point. Had several chances in the second half to win it themselves, only to be hit by that sucker punch by Leicester late on. Going up against a Wednesday side who just haven't found their feet at this level so far under Munoz. Going off the XG numbers from a creative output, Wednesday have been really poor in their opening 3 matches. They've only accumulated an XG of 1.5 across their 3 Championship matches so far, which is by far the lowest of the 24 Championship clubs. Have a feeling that this one will be maybe quite a tight match and cagey, that Sheffield Wednesday will look to keep the scoring down to a minimum, but in the end I think Cardiff will just snatch it. Score prediction here, going to go 1-0 Cardiff and back them for their first win of the season. I think we could be in for a really interesting battle at Coventry as they take on Sunderland. It was a bit of a long overdue first win of the season for Sunderland after they'd stalled in their first couple of matches, but Joe Bellingham turning that game on its head as Sunderland picked up their first win. Going up against the Cov side who I have liked the look of so far. Win, draw and a loss for Coventry so far this season. It was a draw last time against Swansea, but has the feeling of a squad which is slowly falling into place under Mark Robins. A lot of new players that he's looking to bed in. The forward line has been on good form so far this season, particularly Matty Godden, who can't stop scoring at the moment. I think that partnership is developing there between him and Haji Wright, and obviously still got Ellis Sims to fold into the equation as well. I can see a few goals being scored in this one. Sunderland and their threats from out wide are always going to cause problems. I just think that Coventry with that home advantage may end up swaying it. Obviously we saw Coventry taking apart Middlesbrough the other week 3-0. I'm going to back them for a 2-1 home victory in this game. Just still have a few questions over that Sunderland squad right now. After that we go to Huddersfield up against Norwich. Huddersfield picking up their first point of the season last time out against Middlesbrough, going up against the Norwich side who have been looking good so far. Norwich who are coming into this weekend as the Championship top scorers as things stand, having scored 9 goals in their opening 3 matches, averaging 3 goals per game at the moment. Thought they looked really good in their attacking sense against Millwall, and I'm expecting similar things in this game against Huddersfield. And that Huddersfield so far, it has been a bit of a template for them to soak up a lot of pressure, and I mean in quite a few of their matches it has been the case where Lee Nichols has been digging them out on multiple occasions. Huddersfield so far have faced more shots on target than any other Championship club. 20 shots on target Huddersfield have already faced in their opening 3 matches. Do think that Norwich could have a little bit of joy in this game, just a question of whether or not Lee Nichols will be able to keep them at bay. Score prediction here, I think I'm backing the away side. They're in good goal scoring form at the moment. I'm going to back them for another 3-1 victory, this time on the road. Ipswich against Leeds at Portman Road has the potential to be an absolute cracker this weekend. Really like the look of Ipswich so far. They've won their first 3 matches, and I like how generally adaptable they've been. We saw a really commanding performance in that home game they had against Stoke, and then moments in their away matches against Sunderland and QPR where they really did have to weather the storm of the opposition having chances against them. But when those moments of quality and chances do arise for them in the final third, they've been clinical in taking them, and I do see them getting a little bit of joy against this Leeds side, who's yet to fully click into this season. Obviously, Daniel Farke still looking for his first win as Leeds boss in the Championship, but there were some more promising signs, I thought, in that game against West Brom. Obviously, a difficult situation to navigate at the moment with the players that don't want to be at the club, and how Farke's gone about sort of remoulding their squad for the time being. Certainly had enough chances to put away West Brom, but just a little bit wasteful in the final third, and the top performance from Alex Palmer meant that that game finished all square in the end. Score prediction here, a draw wouldn't massively surprise me, but everything seems to be falling Ipswich's way. I feel like they've got a bit more of a settled squad right now, and because of that, I'm going to back them for a 2-1 home victory, which would be a bit of a statement result there from Ipswich. After that, to the den for Millwall up against Stoke. Now, it's typically quite a difficult game to navigate going away to Millwall, but Stoke maybe fancy their chances here. Not been the best of starts by Millwall after that opening day win against Middlesbrough. They followed it up with 2 pretty lacklustre performances, and especially in the final third for Millwall right now, there doesn't seem to be that much which is clicking. Zian Fleming doesn't quite seem to be himself, certainly nowhere near as effective as he was last season, and Kevin Nisbet yet to really settle in so far, but I also would argue that he's not particularly had much service to work with. In his opening 3 matches for Millwall, Nisbet has only had 1 shot on target so far, and you need to be feeding a player like that so much more. Stoke, on the other hand, really quite like their start under Alex Neil. Obviously, they did have that difficult game against Ipswich to navigate, but other than that, I think have looked pretty good in their 2 home matches. Very tight game last time out against Watford, but a game which they did go ahead and edge. With the thought that Millwall sort of need to get something on the board here, I'm maybe swaying towards a draw. I'm going to sit on the fence for this one and say 1-1, but wouldn't be surprised if Stoke did sneak it. Add that to deep delve for Preston up against Swansea. Swansea still searching for that first win of the season. Been a few parts of their team which I've liked the look of so far, but definitely still a few vulnerabilities, particularly at the back, which hopefully Preston will look to take advantage of. For Preston, it's been an unbeaten start in our first 3 matches, and while chances in most of those games from a Preston point of view have somewhat been at a premium, I think we've been clinical in taking those chances so far, and defensively I also think we've been looking pretty sound. Kian Best continues to develop, who we've got playing on the left hand side. I also think that Brad Potts has been in excellent form on the right hand side for the start of the season as well. Looking forward to seeing more of Mads Frotkiar at Preston. I think this one will be a pretty tight game. A draw wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. Jerry Yates is no doubt due his goal against Preston because he always seems to find the back of the net against us. With all that being said, I'm just going to edge a North End victory here. A draw wouldn't surprise me, but I'm just going to back Preston for a 2-1 home victory. I think it'll be close though. After that, we go to Rotherham up against Leicester. Still a few doubts over Leicester, despite them winning their first 3 matches. Still feels like the performance levels have still got some ways to go until they are playing like the cohesive, fluid side that we maybe expected under Maresca from the start of the season, but still plenty of time for all of that to pan out. And what Leicester do have is threats in the final third which will cause Rotherham some problems. Rotherham yet to win a match this season. It's been 1 draw, 2 losses so far, and conceding opportunities has been a real problem so far for the Millers. They've given away a higher XG to the opposition than any other Championship club. As a result of that, they have conceded more goals than any other Championship side so so far this season, but they've also shown a bit more of an attacking threat in some instances as well. With all that being said, I think Leicester do sneak this one. I think it could be another example where Rotherham take the lead. Not the most convincing of performances by Leicester, but they just get the 3 points over the line with a couple of late goals. Score prediction there, I'm going to go 2-1 Leicester and back them for another win. Next up we go to Southampton up against QPR. I have to admit I've been really impressed with Southampton so far. Thought it may take a little bit of time for Russell Martin to properly bed things in at Southampton with his very specific style of play, but the quality that the Saints have on show, I think this group of players have really just taken to his new system like that. Plenty of attacking threat in the final third so far this season. Southampton have accumulated a higher XG than any other Championship club, and I think that that's been evident watching them in their opening 3 matches. Plenty of chances being created, and they've just got several killers in the final third who can just bury you like that. Capable of going both ways as well, lightning quick on transitions when they need to be, or more than happy enough to play it in and around the box. And I do see this being a game where Southampton will look to dominate and QPR will look to spring off on those counter-attacks. Been a bit of an up and down start for QPR so far, but we have seen a bit more encouragement from them in their last couple of matches. Obviously that first win of the season against Cardiff was absolutely pivotal, and maybe got a little bit unlucky not to get something from that game against Ipswich as well. Sinclair Armstrong in particular been a player who's caught a few eyes over these last few weeks, and I think that their pressing game has certainly improved from that opening game week of the season against Watford. With all that being said, I think Southampton right now are just on a different level to QPR in terms of quality, and I think that that attacking threat will shine through in this game against a QPR defence, which I do still see some vulnerabilities in. Score prediction here, I'm going to go 3-0 Southampton. Just think they'll have too much for QPR. West Brom against Middlesbrough is an interesting matchup for the Baggies. It's been a bit of an up and down start so far, win, draw and loss in their first 3 matches. Not yet got much consistency about their play. I think that they've been fairly happy to take that point away from Ellen Road last time, given some of the saves Alex Palmer was forced into in that game. But coming up against Borough, it is a decent time to be playing Michael Carrick's side right now. They've not quite got all the pieces in play, and obviously they had to wait until game week 3 to pick up their first point of the season against Huddersfield. Now, despite Middlesbrough's inconsistent start up until this point, the underlying numbers would suggest that things will take a turn eventually. Creatively, Middlesbrough haven't actually been that bad so far this season. They've just been really quite wasteful in the final third. Obviously, that'll be the case when you don't have the likes of Cameron Archer or Chuba Akpom to go ahead and stick your chances away. Borough fans will be hoping that Latte Lath will be their sort of marquee number 9 to go ahead and drag them through these next matches, but I still feel like he'll have a bit of an adaptation period as well. Score prediction here, I think I'm going to sit on the fence and back another Borough draw. I'm going to go for a 1-1 between these two, which I could see happening. And then finishing today off with Watford up against Blackburn. Two sides who have had fairly similar starts to the season so far. Both teams on 4 points after 3 matches, and both sides looking to bounce back from their first defeat of the season in game week 3. With Blackburn, it was that late loss to Hull. Quite a bit of that game maybe could be put down to that Rovers red card to Harry Pickering in the first half, and Blackburn obviously had to play the vast majority of that game down to 10 men, and Watford on the wrong end of quite a tight match in the end up against Stoke. Generally speaking, I've liked the groundwork that Ishmael's put in at Watford so far. Defensively, I think they've looked really sound. They've only given up an XG of 2.3 to the opposition in their opening 3 matches, which is the best defensive record in the Championship. But on the flip side of that, they are going up against the Blackburn side, who, from a creative stance, have actually been pretty decent. They've been putting up some good underlying numbers so far. Only Norwich and Southampton have accumulated a higher XG than Blackburn have in their opening 3 matches. Do see this game being quite a tightly contested one at Vicarage Road, though. I think the first goal could be quite important. I think for me, I'm just swaying with Watford with that home advantage. Score prediction here, going to go 1-0 Watford, and back then to get back to winning ways. Well guys, there we have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. Make sure to get involved in the conversation down below and do drop your Championship score predictions. But apart from that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.